Good morning, everybody. This is Lainey at Hilltop Home Place. I really wasn't planning on filming right this second. I just kind of doing my morning walk, out here amongst all my plants this morning. I'm picking a few things, and I just thought, let me check in. Let me show you what's going on. I try to be very thankful every day when I walk out here. If I get anything, I'm happy. And I've been having a lot of harvest lately. But this morning, this is what I've gotten so far. A cucumber, which is only my second cucumber that I've gotten, so I'm proud of that, but it's my second one. And my white scallop squash are starting to hit. I got about 4 out yesterday, a couple the day before. I got 2 more this morning. These white scallop squash are really starting to hit. I bought some seeds the other day for some green patty pan squash. I haven't planted them, but I think I'm going to really enjoy growing these. And then I've got some red swan beans, just a few. I get a few every day off my green stalk outside my front door. And then I get a few ground cherries every day. I'm just putting them in a Ziploc, and I'm hoping at some point I can make some kind of ground cherry, I don't know what, jam or compote or something. I've never cooked with them, so that's going to be a learning experience. I'll just start with this first little driveway bed. This is where I put my Cherokee purple tomato plants the other day that I bought, and some new bell pepper plants. None of that's hitting yet. Those are brand new transplants. They're growing though. But a lot of my Louisiana purple pod beans are starting to climb up my trellising. They're doing it on this side and over here. Though over here they're a little harder to see because I have this big black Seaman tomato plant growing up in front. But I'll just kind of use it as an example. All of my tomato plants are setting fruit right now. I told my husband if all of this stuff, starts turning red, we're in trouble. I've got tomatoes everywhere, and I'm so thankful for it. I'm not complaining at all. I'm very thankful for it. I have just stuff interspersed everywhere. Like down there is a sweet meat winter squash plant. It hadn't started putting off anything yet, but I have a lot of things everywhere. That's kind of been my theme, is to try to not have a lot of areas uncovered. That being said, sometimes things don't take off, so you end up with an area uncovered that you weren't really planning on. This is my Chiapas wild cherry tomatoes. Growth-wise, they're doing wonderful. They have spread out and taken up, that's only 2 plants there, and they've taken up this whole section at the end of our ramp. And they're setting lots of tomatoes. Not a one of them has turned red yet. It seems to me they're taking a while, because usually my cherry tomatoes start turning red a lot earlier than my regular tomatoes, but these are just still sitting here green. And you know what I'm noticing for the first time today? Yep, a little yellow down in there. I need to get in there and do a little clipping of some of these leaves. I worried about that. We had a little spell of 2 or 3 rainstorms that went through, and I worried that now some of my tomatoes might start getting a little blight, and it looks like those have, so I'm going to take care of that. My state half-runner beans, they're taking off here. They're finally starting to climb a little bit. I think I planted about 20 seeds, and I only ended up with about 11 plants that came up. So it's not a big, thick section here, but I look for them eventually to put off a good many green beans. I don't need any more green beans, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have so many green beans from last year, it's unreal. But I wanna put things everywhere, and I wanna plant stuff, so sometimes green beans are the easiest. I actually have more over here in my little handmade planter box. That's a Kitchen King bush bean. I have another one up in there. I actually planted some type of something up in here, some type of melon or squash. I have no idea what I planted. I'm usually so good about writing it down, but this year I have fallen by the wayside on a few things. Right there and right there are shishito pepper plants. Under those Chiapas wild cherry tomatoes, I have more shishito plants, but they're getting kind of covered up by the tomatoes. And all along here, they're getting tall. They're about 3 feet tall now, maybe, well, a little more, I think, some of these, but it's all sunflowers. It's all sunflowers. There's a few Matt's wild cherry tomato plants interspersed in there, but this is going to be so glorious to be able to walk up here shortly, get out of the car and walk up and see this whole row of sunflowers. That's just going to be glorious. I don't think I'm crazy, because I was starting to wonder about cucumbers. My cucumbers plants were just sitting there. They weren't doing anything. And normally by this time, cucumbers come first, and I get just overloaded with them and make pickles all the time. But this year, all my cucumber plants were slow getting going. This one right here is finally taking off and finally doing good. It's a burpless garden cucumber, I think. Garden burpless, if I'm not mistaken. I had to also circle my little sugar kettle with chicken wire. It matches everything in my yard now, because right after these things sprouted and started coming up, all of a sudden the squirrels decided to get up in the bed here and dig around. They didn't bother my carrots for whatever reason. I don't know. Animals like some things, they don't like others. I don't know why. But they apparently decided they were going to mess with my bean plants. Luckily, they didn't completely destroy them. They did uproot them, but I was able to put them back in and tuck the dirt around them and then cover them with this chicken wire. And I still have 14 plants, and they are growing well. These are doing well. This is the Janie Forrester field peas that I planted last year. Had terrible germination, but I saved seeds, planted them this year, and now they're growing. So I'm kind of hoping these will continue on, and I think with this chicken wire here, they'll be safe. This is my tomato row along my ramp. It's 36 feet, and I'm proud to say that most every plant is just rocking it with tomatoes. I've got tags of tomatoes on so many plants. They're just all down in there. You know what tomatoes look like, so I'm not going to bother showing you everything. But it's given me a little snapshot of which varieties are doing better than the others. There's 18 plants here, but I do have it written down exactly what I've gotten planted, and I'm going to make note of which ones have really taken off and which ones are not doing as great. Maybe they'll hit later. You know, I got no problem with them coming in later. That'll give me a little succession planting kind of unexpectedly. So if they hit later, that's fine. But some of them seem a little slower than the others. Some of them, they may not taste as good as the others. So I'm going to make some notes of that. But this has worked out wonderful with them being here and with the chicken wire and all in front of it. The dogs haven't messed with them at all, of course. They can't. And they've been kind of safe, and they seem to like it here. They're doing good. Knock on wood, I haven't had blight get these so far, but I'm going to check them out here after seeing that on that other plant. So just all you can do is stay on top of it. That's just all you can do. I've got some winter squash growing here, and then finally on this row too, my cucumbers are finally starting to grow and spread. Haven't gotten the first cucumber off of here yet, but they're finally starting to grow and spread. So I had mentioned the other day that I planted this whole row with different squash plants. And I've noticed some bugs have kind of gotten a hold of a lot of the leaves, and but they're growing. You know, as long as things are growing, I'm just going to let it go. If they get eat up by bugs, then they weren't very strong of a plant anyway. I'm just not going to panic or anything like that or start spraying. I'm letting them go, and then the good plants, if they put me off some vegetables, I'll save seeds from those, and we're going to save seeds and move forward like that. I'm so glad that I built this little area down here at the end of my trailer. It arcs. It's hard to tell on camera, but it kind of arcs. It makes a lazy L shape. And it's made out of azalea branches on this end with T-post, and then just string on this end. But it has come in so handy. It's the perfect place for pole beans. It kind of hugs the side of my yard. I don't know how to explain it. It kind of hugs the side of my yard. Visually, it makes my garden feel like it kind of, I don't know, kind of has a little border here along this edge. And it's just a pleasure to come out and see this growing every day. I just like it a whole lot. At the end of that row of all my pole beans, I planted some sweet dumpling squash. And I've got, I think, 3 growing. They're up under there. The little tendril is just starting to turn kind of tannish instead of green. It hasn't turned brown yet. But I think in the next few days, I'm going to be picking this off. These are just little sweet dumplings. They're considered single serving winter squash. And, but anything I can grow, I'm testing. Sometimes things look good online and they just don't do good for you. But sometimes things just look average and they're just go crazy. So I'm just testing to see what happens. I put this little triangular flower bed in behind my pole beans. Really just, I've been trying to make areas for pollinators, and this will be a permanent area that I can have flowers all the time. But they're doing wonderful. This is just multiple little miscellaneous seed packets I threw out here. I was trying to clear out some of the seeds that I've been just sitting on and not planting, and they're doing fine. more convenient to swing out here and go ahead and show you the bigger garden. I'm not going to go row by row. I've got a lot of bush beans planted right now, and they're all blooming. I've got 2 long rows of bush beans. And as I said, I really don't need too many more green beans, but I'm just kind of doing what I can this year. I don't care if I get an overabundance of anything, then I'm sharing it with people. I've already been bringing neighbors things and sharing things, so it's okay. I've got the time, I've got the seeds, so I'm planting. But as you can see there, all their little lavender, beautiful little blooms are going on. So here in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be hot and heavy picking these. And the same over there with the royalty purple pod beans. They're all blooming too. They have purple stems and purple flowers so that the flowers are harder to see, but they're beautiful. I had 5 pepper plants, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then over there I had another one, and it got taken down by whatever. And so I came back and put cages around these, and since then I hadn't had any problem, but I had to go ahead and cage them up. I want the peppers. I want the peppers. That is one thing this year I want an overabundance of, is peppers, because I want to have them available for stir fries and everything. I love peppers, and I love cooking with them. This is that white scallop squash I was telling you about. I've got a squash on the end here, but I put cucumbers in the middle of these 2 squash rows, and it's kind of hard to harvest these cucumbers because they're going all up under my squash plants. Note to self, maybe don't do that next year. Don't do that. This is golden zucchini. So between these and the white scallop squash, I'm having to hunt for cucumbers. Only had 2 so far, but there might be more and I can't find them. I got some more cucumbers down here, but they're just now starting to sprawl and spread, and they haven't put off any that I know of. It could be a hide and seek game this whole season. My tomatillas are doing good. Most of the plants have a lot of tomatillas on them. Some of them don't, but these down here seem to be doing the best. This is a green variety. Next to it, I have a purple variety. Back to a green. I don't know. It's confusing me a little bit because I didn't plant them all interspersed like that. I planted them in order. So I'm not sure how that purple variety got up in the middle there. And now I don't really know which variety it is. It's hard to tell. But anyway, I'm still... I haven't harvested yet off of this, but they're ready. They're just about ready. All these little paper Chinese balloons that tomatillas grow in, they're starting to fill up with the tomatillas. So it's not going to be long before I'll have a bag of those in my freezer. And I am definitely making salsa. I made it last year and it was delicious with those tomatillas. This is where I have my Aunt Molly's ground cherries down here. Some of the leaves look a little yellow, but they're putting off lots of ground cherries. And every day I walk out here and I just check the ground, just like it says. It says don't pick them until they fall on the ground. So I have one there, probably gonna fall tomorrow. But I just kind of get up under here, make sure everything's okay, and I'm leaving them alone. They say these reseed very easily and that they can really kind of come back real aggressively. And I'm gonna let them do it. I don't mind. This is just an area over here that I created on the other side of this string fence to grow things. And if something wants to get a little invasive and take over like ground cherries, they're welcome to do it over here. I'm fine with that. My little triangular bed here that's at the head of my driveway as you're coming toward my house. It's the one that's under the bees that are right up there. And they're flying today. They are swarming everywhere. But anyway, it's where I'm growing my blue Guatemalan squash. And let me show you this. Look at that thing under there. It's over a foot long, or about exactly a foot long. It's still green. It's not turning blue or anything yet. Or I think they kind of turn a little pinkish too. But it's not doing all that yet. But it's doing great. And I have 3 of them that are like that. You can see that big one hanging there. And I have another one there. They're doing good. I harvested my first Thelma Sanders. Interspersed all up under there are Thelma Sanders squash. I harvested my first one a couple of days ago. Got another one there that's maturing. They put off more than this at my old house. I'm kind of hoping they'll kick in at some point. I don't want just 2 or 3. I was kind of hoping I'd get 7 or 8 per plant like I did at my old house. So we'll see what happens. But, you know, they're growing. Can't complain. I've got a lot of tomatoes along the front of this triangular bed, and even on that side. Those got kind of blown around the other day, and they're tilting. I've got to get out here and straighten all that up. They're just kind of whomped over right now. But you can see they're loaded with tomatoes. That's the Martha Washington tomatoes. And these right here are Homestead tomatoes. They're not loaded up, but there are some on the bushes here. I'm gonna show you this from this angle because you'll see what I'm talking about. This is my Lancaster Sure Crop corn, and it seems to be growing better towards the back, and then it gets shorter towards the front. Some of these in the front are just not getting it. I don't know that they're gonna ever do anything. But the ones to the middle are getting taller. They're about 5 feet plus right now. This one in the back is over my head, but I don't see the first ear of corn on any of my corn on anywhere on my property yet. No ears. But I do have tassels starting to come out. You can see the tassels right there. I do have all that starting to come out. I'm gonna do a little research because it kind of makes me nervous. I don't want all this corn tasseling to pollinate nothing. Like I don't see any ears. So I'm really worried that the tassels are coming out when I don't see any ears. I can't even remember, to be honest with you, how it all works every year. I've never had an issue with it. Normally I see silks and I get some ears, and then the tassels come out, and it all just works. Some years better than others, but this year for some reason I'm getting worried because I see no silks, and not just on this but on the other. Let me go show you. This is what I call my small corn patch, and this is where I just planted a bunch of different kinds of sweet corn, and I'm letting it mix and cross. I don't care, whatever it wants to do is fine. I had to replant a second time, so some of the plants are smaller, but they are coming up, and they have filled in all these missed spots. Not all of them, but a lot of them, and they're coming up. And then the ones I had planted first, of course, are getting a little taller. I have a good feeling about this corn. I have a good feeling, I guess because the weather has stayed more moderate than it did last year. Last year we started just it being incinerated. This year it seems to be staying more moderate, so I have a good feeling about the actual growth of it. But of course I don't see any ears on this yet because this corn is not ready. Well, I say it's not ready. I'm sitting here looking right now at a tassel coming on one of these. But technically this corn is a lot more new than my other corn, so I'm not expecting any ears right now. But I'm hoping and praying that I'm not just growing pretty stalks of corn. I'm hoping and praying they are going to put off some ears. I don't know, it's just a weird kind of situation, and I'm not alone in saying that. I heard Danny on Deep South the other day saying that the weather kind of has his corn confused a little bit, even though his corn is growing and getting huge. And that's what this is doing right here. This is my Onavino corn. I only have like 4.5 rows of this planted in this little small corn patch. I am seeing this morning what looks like an ear starting to form there. It's got that thick little husk area there, and I'm seeing a little growth. So maybe in the next few days, this corn will really start earing up. It's got tassels as well coming out up here at the top. So I'm hoping it'll all, come out good. We've entered a dry spell right now. After those rains we had not too long ago, they're saying it's gonna stay dry this week through Memorial Day and everything, and into next week. So I think, and the temperatures have went up, so I think now that's what the corn's been waiting on. I think it's been waiting on some warmer temperatures and some days of heat to kind of get this going. So I have hope. I have hope that it's going to do good. I'm so curious to see how it's going to come out. I got a little off track showing you the corn in the 2 different spots in my yard, but I'll just kick back in over here. One good thing is this pollinator row that I planted and just tossed out every flower seed I could find. It's growing good. I've got cosmos, I've got zinnias, I've got looks like a big old sunflower plant coming up right back there. Lots of sunflower plants. So they're doing good. Some things are blooming and showy right now. Some things are just buds, and some things haven't even started. So that's good. That means I'll have a good succession of flowering going on. This has been a good thing that I did. I'm glad that I did this. It's simple, it was easy to do, but I'm glad I did it. It kind of gives just this whole area over here for pollinators to come to, and I think it has helped my garden this year. I think so, and I think it's going to continue to help because I'm going to keep this row active. Behind my pollinator row, I have this big growing area. Now here's one of the things that I haven't noticed has done great. I have 3 Howden pumpkin plants planted here. One of them just hasn't grown much at all. This one in the middle has just grown like crazy. But I was hoping not to grow pumpkin plants. I was hoping to grow pumpkins, and I have never seen the first female bloom on here to grow a pumpkin. I've had nothing but male blooms and nothing so far. So I'm not worried about it. It's just a test. Maybe they would have done better more in the sun. This is getting a little shade over here. I don't know, but I tried it. It hadn't worked great, but it's okay. I'm just gonna see what happens. Maybe they'll come out later, who knows. Behind those pumpkins, I planted some sweet peppers. They're called Toddy sweet peppers from Seed Savers Exchange. And they're actually putting off peppers. I've stolen a few for cooking the last few days. I just stole them while they were green, but they will turn red, and they're a very sweet pepper. The plants need to get a little bit bigger, but they've come a long way from where they were. They kind of were stunted there for a while, and now they seem to be thriving. I've got cushaws. I've got several cushaws. I think I have about 4 growing right now that are bigger like this. I'm hoping for more though. There's a few more little blooms, not many, but I'm hoping that I'm wanting to get more of these cushaws, and I'm hoping these plants will put off more, but the ones that are growing are nice, so I'm appreciative of what I've got. And they're not ready to harvest yet. The little tendrils are still green. They're not ready to harvest. I've got a big one laying in the grass over there. But these are really a pleasure to come out and watch grow. The cushaws seem to do good here in the South, so that's one thing. If you live in the South, try to grow those, and they taste really good too. I've got a lot of tomatoes and things in the front of this bed. And then here is my azalea branch row that's got my pole beans on it, but it's a mixture of different varieties of dried beans. I'm letting them go to the dry stage. It's a test of patience for these dry beans because they're hanging here with beans all over them right now. They're hanging everywhere. It's hard to film things like this, but there's a big long one there that's already turning like mottled red. It's going to be dried before too long. There's a whole little bushel of them down there. So they're everywhere on these plants. It's just hard to show. But I think I'm going to get a lot of different dried beans. And my goal with this is just really to save these seeds, just to save the seeds and replant these next year. Take them. I'm not expecting a bunch of crossing off of these beans right now, but I am hoping just for like landrace seeds that have grown together. Since there's a big variety, some will make it, some won't. The ones that do make it and that do get to the dried stage, I think those seeds will be very stronger and much more adapted to my environment. And then I think when I plant them next year, they'll do even better. You can see there's not tons of greenery on here. They are putting off beans, but there's not tons of greenery. I'm hoping next year, they'll really just take off and go crazy once they've adapted to my environment. Heading back towards my house. This is my little Gila Pima winter squash bed. And they are doing okay. They're doing okay. I don't know how many fruit are supposed to be on each plant, but I'm getting a few. There's a big one growing there. Got a big one growing under there. And you can see one kind of right there that's coming on. I'm hoping these will do good. I'm looking forward to tasting those squash and see how they do. They're supposed to be adapted to hot weather, and now that they've grown down here, I'm hoping if I can save some seeds, that'll even help me more to grow these down here. Looking for sustainability. I'm looking for sustainability, and I'm trying to plant things that like it, trying to plant things that'll grow good for food. For food, that's always my goal. I've always got my family in my mind when I'm planting all this. I've showed y'all this a ton of times. It's my Tetsukabuto and my Burgess Buttercup. I've actually harvested 4 squash off of here, and I've got more. I've got a big one there that's coming, and I've got more. So I'm looking forward to harvesting these. I wanted to show you, I know some of you have grown fish peppers before, whose channels I watch. I've got fish peppers growing amongst all this. I've got 4 plants. There's one hiding under there because that big leaf is covering it. And then there's one popping up there. Now the plants are growing good. I haven't had any peppers yet, but I do see a bloom right there. I do see a bloom. So they're coming, I guess. I'm looking forward to these. You see how the leaves are variegated? The leaves have some white in it and some green. That's really pretty. But the peppers are that way too. The peppers might be red or yellow or whatever and have white striping on them. So they're different. They're different from anything I've ever grown, any kind of pepper. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready for these fish peppers to start producing. I have another big Tetsukabuto squash there. It's not quite ready yet, I don't think, but I'm fixing to get it here shortly. But it's right at the base of this early girl, this one early girl tomato plant I have going. But my early girl hadn't been quite so early this year. She just started putting off tomatoes, got more down there. They may end up ripening before others, but I don't think so. This plant seemed to take a little while this year to get going, and she's growing up here in a forest. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it may not be such an early girl as she usually is, but I'm glad it's here, and I'm hoping I can get something off of it. My Rondenise squash in my other bed has been putting off well. Those are the ones that are kind of shaped like a little 8-ball. They've been doing really good. And this is just my dark green zucchini here, and I've actually been harvesting a good bit off of it. I didn't even realize I had some. I had been looking at them every day, and all of a sudden the other day I saw one that was getting huge, so it had escaped me somehow. But I picked it, and I've got I'm working on my 3rd gallon of squash right now. I chop it up and I'm just freezing it, and I'm going to use it for stir fries right now. If I change my mind, I can come back and do zucchini bread or whatever, but right now I'm just saving it. Jumping back around to this size, these are my sweet banana peppers that I planted the other day here, that I bought just the other day at the store, so they haven't really taken off yet. Here's my oregano that a friend gave me, little bitty, teeny in a cup she had started. It was so cute. And now look at it. Look at this big oregano section here I have. So that's going to take off and do good. These are Jimmy Nardello peppers all the way down to here, and I think at the very end is Napoleon sweet peppers. My last bed down here, this is the one walking towards the end of my driveway. I have got a ton so far of Appalachian beans off of these plants. They've done well. I've got a few hanging here right now. This was just a mixture of like the greasy beans, the cut short beans, just different things. You pick them and eat them like snap beans, but some of them are called greasy beans and all because of their texture and their color. But these have done good. I could probably come out here and pick a few every day. I've been trying to just do it like every other day, just to not drive myself crazy. But they don't look like a big, huge stand of beans. You know, some people walk up and they're picking over their head. I'm not doing that. They're tending to want to just stay down here, even though I try to train them up the string. But they're doing fine. So let them do what they're going to do. It's their choice, whatever they want to do. They're just beans. I'll pick them wherever they're at. My watermelons have finally started taking off, but I only have a few little bud watermelons on there, and I just don't know if I'm going to get anything off of these. They just don't seem to be thriving that much, but that's 3 plants we're looking at there. And they still have not gotten to where they're spreading out from this garden, so we'll see what happens. I'm not going to hang my hat on watermelons this year. I'm growing some butternut squash over here, and so far I only have 2 of them. This one's a little farther along over here. I've got a little cage over it, obviously, to keep things off of it. There's just not enough metal at my house, though, to protect everything. But I'm hoping to get some butternut squash. I mean, they're delicious. I just never have grown them before. But I'm hoping this will kind of start something. I have other things planted among things. I have some jicama plants. I grew those last year. They make a little root that looks like a rutabaga, but it tastes different than that. It kind of, you can use it and cook it almost like you could a potato. So I have some of those growing. I have okra interspersed here and there. Last year was a dud year for okra for me, and I'm hoping for better this year. Though I only have a few plants that are seeming to want to come up and thrive. A lot of them are staying small. I have a couple right here that seem to be wanting to grow. That one there and that one. And I've got 20 others that are still staying small. So we'll see what happens. It's warming up, so the okra likes it warm. These are my kalima beans, which are in full bloom and which are setting pods right now. So within the next week and a half or so, I'm going to be hot and heavy picking kalima beans. And it's going to be a mess because they grew taller and thicker than I thought they would. And so it's going to be something to try to dig in there and find all those beans. This third row, which is actually growing right up amongst those, so it gets confusing. But it's one row of dried bush beans, mixed varieties. Gazillion pods growing on there right now. Gazillion pods, but I'm just letting them go till they get to the dry stage. So there's no maintenance or anything. There's nothing for me to do. I'm just waiting until I can come through here and start kind of picking the pods once they're dry. So, but this, I'm looking forward to this too. That's another landrace thing I'm trying to do, and I'm looking forward to it. I just realized I have two big okra plants back here. Those are actually coming along. I actually forgot these were here. So hey, I might be getting some okra this year. I might be. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed. I put a big pumpkin plant, well, it was little at the time, but I have a pumpkin plant. It's growing all up into my corn. It's coming out the other end down there. I had to train it around the front side of my corn patch. And it's only got one little pumpkin growing right now that's about 3 or 4 inches long, but I'll take it. But I think the corn likes it when things are growing up amongst it, and I think like this pumpkin is growing so well because it's amongst other things. I think that kind of makes these plants happy. So I'm hoping I can get a pumpkin though. I think this was a charisma pumpkin whose seeds I got from Johnny Seeds. So I'm hoping it'll do okay. Well, y'all, there's other little tidbits I could show you. There's little things planted here and there and yonder. But the videos can get very long if you show every little thing and discuss it. I just kind of wanted to show some of the things that are growing okay, some of the things that I'm a little bit worried about. I wanted to show some of the things like my dried beans that I'm really not worried about getting food from right now, but I'm planning ahead because I'm hoping those seeds will acclimate. If they cross a little bit or something, that's fine. But even if they don't, they'll be stronger, I think, from growing a good season here in South Louisiana. Humidity and heat is what we usually have. This year we've had humidity, but our heat hasn't got unbearable yet. But they're not finished growing either though, so anything can happen in the next few weeks. So I'm hoping to harvest a lot of dried beans that I can put in a bag and write on there that I saved those in 2024, and those are going back in the ground next year, and I'm hoping it'll make like what we call bumper crops at that point. I thank y'all so much for joining me on this little walk through my garden this morning. It's been a pleasure. Please like and subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends if you would. I'd appreciate it. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day and Memorial Day weekend if I don't get back with you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.